Alex, are we ready to go when the chair is ready? We're going to start at 6. Okay. We're all set to go. Dr. Fromer, at your... So there's a facilitator who's listening, and so they'll let you know if there's anyone waiting on Zoom for a comment. Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Hi, y'all. Hi, everybody. It's November. And I want to wish everybody a happy holidays in advance. Before we get started, I'm calling the meeting to order. I'd like to call this meeting of the Civilian Oversight Commission to order at 6 p.m. tonight. Our first item is public comment, public open time. This is an opportunity for members of the public to speak on items that are not on today's agenda. Speakers will have 2 minutes each. Are there any members of the public who would like to speak? We'll ask you to come to the podium in order, and just you get 2 minutes.
Are we starting now?
I called the meeting to order at 6 p.m.
So I may speak? Walking there is tough. My voice carries. It's a privilege to be with you.
Sir, could you please use the microphone if you're going to speak so that the folks that are at home can hear?
As a former member of the Marin County Human Rights Commission for 10 years, also served on the personnel. Well, I've been with this county for a long time, doing various things like what you all are doing. And I'm pleased that this commission was formed after many, many difficult months of effort. And I think it's important for this commission to do more outreach about what is going on here in terms of trying to deal with issues related to the sheriff. And by the way, when I was on the Human Rights Commission, we had many complaints about the sheriff, particularly from Marin City, California, but elsewhere. We met frequently with Bob Doyle, and there are still challenges. But now, under new state law, a civilian oversight group, such as yourselves, has an important duty to make sure that misconduct is dealt with, or even to acquaint the public with what kinds of challenges the sheriff's department has in such a diverse county as Marin County. So public education should be also a part of your work. Now, you've had a lot of work done in advance by the President's Task Force on 21st Century Policing that was published during the Obama administration and contains a blueprint for examining law enforcement agencies in a variety of contexts. I highly recommend that this group, if you have not already, study that carefully and then make it available to the public. It's a lengthy document, but I think the county has enough money in the printing fund and a great print shop, by the way. They can crank it out. And I will be speaking on items on the agenda. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for your good work.
Thank you. Good evening.
My name is Susan Malloy. I live in Fairfax. I thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight, and I thank you for your participation in this good effort to establish trust between the community and the Sheriff's Department. I'm here to ask you to work with the Sheriff to avoid all communication with ICE. Local government support of ICE immigration raids is deeply unpopular in Marin County and indeed all over our nation. Anything we can do to stop current cooperation is vital. This means stopping the publication of booking logs and halting all SCAP reimbursement, as well as all future SCAP grant applications. I ask that you put these requests on your agendas over the next few months. And it's good to be prepared because the current practice of sharing booking logs is just the tip of the iceberg. ICE and Homeland Security have a huge budget now to entice local law enforcement to become deputies in the federal campaign to rid our country of immigrants who are non-European. ICE is now expanding the 287G program, which authorized participating state and local law enforcement the authority to conduct immigration enforcement activities. Examples of new technology, which their huge budget allows them to buy, is and that local government and ICE can use include a facial scanning app, a mobile iris scanner, a tracker of hundreds of millions of phones, an app that links license plates to huge databases, and more. How much more do we want our sheriffs to be linked to ICE? That is the question, big question facing you and all of us. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the Commission. I'm Peter Getz, a resident of District 1, one of 3,000 Marin residents so far who have signed the petition demanding that our sheriff stop all cooperation with ICE, one of more than 70 Marin residents who protested outside the sheriff's office, and one of the 50 residents who attended a recent Board of Supervisors meeting to press the board, to press the sheriff to stop publicizing booking logs of those in his custody and to halt all SCAP reimbursement requests and all future SCAP grant applications. Tonight, as you consider the draft commission work plan, as you establish priority topics that align with community needs, I ask that the sheriff's disengagement from any and all cooperation with ICE be one of the plan's top priorities. One of this commission's goals is to communicate with the public, that's all of us and all of us, to emphasize transparency, to maintain trust. To build trust, that communication must include the extent to which our sheriff is cooperating with ICE. That must be a top priority of this commission and of its work plan. Work plan tasks include, for example, the development of a complaint procedure so crucial to the building of trust with the public. Could the complaint procedure include complaints about the sheriff's office sharing detainee information with the U.S. Department of Justice? As you know, you commissioners are permitted and encouraged to begin meaningful preparatory work that can be done in advance of the Inspector General's appointment. That work should include recommendations to the board and to the sheriff's office, echoing local residents' demands that the sheriff stop all cooperation with ICE. Please agendize this topic for future meetings in order to keep us, the public, informed about this crucial part of your work. Thank you.
Good evening.
Hello. My name is Ryan Rasmussen. I'm a resident of San Rafael, and I'm here to implore this commission to compel the sheriff's office to sever all ties with ICE. As stated on the Marin County website, this commission is to play a critical role in fostering trust between the community and law enforcement. As a member of this community, I could tell you that my trust in law enforcement is zero, and will remain so as long as the Sheriff's Office and Sheriff Scardina has ties with ICE. We know what ICE is. We see it every day. It is the manifestation of ignorance and racism that has festered in the heart of our nation, given unchecked power and set loose upon the people of this country. It is a mockery of justice. So to see our Sheriff's Office work with ICE rather than turn it out is a scarlet letter upon it. I want the Sheriff's Department to recognize the humanity and value of every person who calls Marin their home, no matter their background, appearance, or birthplace. Sheriff Scardina must stop publishing information and release dates of its undocumented detainees. Sheriff Scardina must stop participating in the SCAP federal program and trading safety of the community for financial gain. Thank you.
Good evening. I have said this a few times, and I'll keep saying it. We're here for a reason. I know that takes a lot of, I guess I can say, moving parts to make this all happen, but how do we get here? Why are we here? Someone pulled a Public Request Act from the District Attorney's Office going back from 1990 to 2020. RIPA data, I think, started in, 2023, I think? I'm not sure. Could be wrong. This data is RIPA data before RIPA data. Not to point you out, Felicia, my friend, but I think you're appointed per your district, per where you live, and you happen to live in Marin City. This data, as you will be pulling RIPA data for your files at some point, but you have the DA's office RIPA data before RIPA data at the DA's office. So I will keep talking about this. You have the discretion to say to us, I know it's the Brown Act, to say if you have or you haven't yet. I'm hoping that you will get this data from the DA's office at some point soon. So when you show us your RIPA data, you also have 30 years prior to that, a pattern. Marin City is deep in this document of 30 plus years of RIPA data before RIPA data. Thank you.
Well said. I'm Mark Dale, and spent all day at San Rafael High School as a guest support teacher under Marin County Office of Education. Also, I'm at Bahia Vista quite a bit in the canal. And so I see this dynamic with the lens of a teacher and how difficult it is on the kids. And our release protocols, especially at Bahia Vista and the canal, are very specific how we release children. So that there is not a ICE dynamic. Whenever there's an ICE report in the community, there's a number of protocols that are taking place at that school site. So I see that. And so I applaud the folks who have gotten up to say this, that we need to really be diligent and on our toes on this. And this is where this commission has definitely, hopefully, a say in it. Part of what I want to say in the spirit of the holidays is that there's a unit that I've worked with for years. For those who don't know, I'm a drug expert in the county. I had to become one because we almost lost one of our kids. He's alive. I've worked with a ton of families who lost their kids, either through drug overdose or teen suicides. And but there's a unit called the Last Responders, is the kind way to say it, but it's a Sheriff Coroner's division within the Sheriff's Office. And I just want to do a shout out to these folks. They, day and night, are out there getting people at their worst, who passed away, who may have been there for a few days or longer. And when I see these folks, I just have nothing but kindness in my heart for them. And I was in there recently, and one of the odd dynamics is that our loss rate this year, so I had started the Marin County Prescription Drug Abuse Task Force, which grew into something called RX Safe Marin, which is currently OD-free Marin, overdose-free Marin, and it's garnered about $40 million in opioid settlement money for the county. Our overdose death rate this year was much higher than I expected it to be. We're at about 42 through the end of September that we know of. Now, that's in counties. There's still toxicology on some other folks. And then suicide rate into October is about 28. And that's not just youth, it's our population. So that's a 70 right there. So as you guys mature and look into different aspects, I think there's a viewpoint within the commission that you can kind of have a lens on that in the future. I just wanted to plant a seed. Happy holidays. Wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to allow time for speakers in the room and on Zoom. So we're going to go to Zoom now.
Yes, Madam President, there are 3 speakers in the queue. The first one is Gina Fleming. Please unmute.
Yes, my name is Jenna Fleming, and I want to make a comment about your work plan similar to some previous speakers. It's obvious that a particularly good candidate for the meaningful preparatory work that your staff report recommended would be the question of the relationship of our sheriff to ICE federal immigration authorities. I recommend the best way for you to begin would be and you could do this even before the arrival of the Inspector General, would be to schedule at one of your next meetings a background briefing on the two important state laws that govern this relationship, the California Values Act, SB 54, and the Truth Act, AB 2792. That kind of briefing would enable you to come well prepared for a moment of action on this. And I also recommend that you listen to the next monthly meeting of the supervisors, which will be on December 9th in the morning, where there will be a relevant discussion of this issue, and you could gain a lot more information. I just want to second the importance of this issue, which is very likely to be at the top of your compliance list as you go forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Tammy Edmondson. Please unmute.
Good evening, Tammy Edmondson. I'm from MV Free, and I wanted to introduce myself and MV Free to the Commission and let you know that MV Free is here as a resource for the Commission as a whole and for any individual members who have questions about the substantive issues that you're going to be considering. MV Free, that's Mill Valley Force for Racial Equity and Empowerment, is a community association dedicated to advancing racial equity in Marin County through research and data-informed best practices. Our police team has years of experience analyzing Marin County RIPA data, which you've heard referenced. That's the Racial and Identity Profiling Act. And we have a deep understanding of RIPA recommended strategies to address the specific causes of racial policing disparities in our community. Our expertise also extends to a range of other issues that will be central to the Commission's work, including AB 481, that's the law that governs the Sheriff's acquisition and use of military equipment, as well as the immigration issues that you've heard mentioned. We're very interested and active in trying to stop the county's involvement in the Alien Assistance Grant Program. I'm so grateful to all of the commissioners for taking on this really important job, and also want to thank Lynn Walsh for her thoughtful and professional management of the group. It is great to see the focus, both in the subcommittee assignments and in the draft work plan, on getting a head start on the training and research that's going to be necessary to prepare all of you for the really complex issues ahead. I would be happy to talk with members of the Training Curriculum Subcommittee or any other interested commissioners about some of the issues that we at MV Free see on your horizon. Please feel free to email me. Again, I'm Tammy. Our email is action@mvfree.org. Thank you so much again for your work.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Eva. Please unmute.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Terrific. I think two of your speakers were a little too modest. George Pegolo was your first speaker, and he neglected to mention that in his capacity on the Human Rights Commission, he worked very closely with Ken Casey and apparently received a good deal of money from Ken Casey, who famously ran one of the biggest Ponzi schemes ever in Marin County. It was first reported in the IJ as a $70 million Ponzi scheme. Later updated in other publications, but never updated in Marin. It's more on the order of $300 or $400 million Ponzi scheme as it was unraveling. Tammy Edmondson has touted the expertise of MV Free, and certainly it does possess some expertise, but that expertise, it should be noted, failed to note the SCAP funding until it was 3 years in. So that is the kind of delayed response you will get from MV Free. They've been extremely opaque about their operations, and they've made some real boner decisions in the past, including supporting the current police chief in Mill Valley, ignoring complaints from Marin City, and ignoring the reality of a lawsuit that was filed against the sheriff at that time. That he was part of that lawsuit. Unfortunately, he was initially named in it. The plaintiffs in that suit were treated horribly, and this was completely ignored by MV Free, even though it was brought to their attention. Only later did they decide that they were upset about the RIPA data. The RIPA data itself is deceptive because it's basically looking at a very narrow slice. It doesn't look at the larger interaction with the district attorney, and that's why the 32-year record that Mr. Morgan referenced.
Thank you so much for
actually
your
more
comment.
relevant.
Appreciate you.
Madam President, there are no more speakers in the queue.
All right, thank you. I want to thank you for everyone who shared comments. Seeing that there are no additional speakers, I want to close public open time. Close public open time. All right, we're going to move to item number 3 on the agenda, approval of the minutes from October 20th, 2025.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
is there a time to make a comment on some public comments?
You can't comment on
Okay.
items that are not agendized.
Okay.
Where was I? We're at the minutes from October 20th. Is there a staff person report?
Good evening, Chair Fromer. I do not have a staff report tonight, but I'm available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there questions from commissioners for staff on this item, the minutes? All right, I'm going to open up public comment on this item. Speakers will have 2 minutes. Allow time for speakers in the room and on Zoom. So if there's any comments on our minutes, yes, we'll speak. The minutes from October 20th.
Sir, could you please use the microphone so that the people that are listening from home could hear you? Yes, sir.
There you go.
There it is. So they can mute me. Okay, that's cool.
No, so we can hear you.
Okay, now you can hear me, I presume?
There you go.
Okay. It is obvious that hopefully this commission will be appropriately staffed. I might add that staffing for commissions generally in this county is minimal or non-existent. And when I was on the Human Rights Commission, we had a 1/8 time person who dealt with minutes and meeting notices. But we had also some people who donated an amazing amount of time, just regular citizens who wanted to support the work of our commission. Now, a comment was made by the caller related to me being involved in a Ponzi scheme, and that is a lie, and I will be happy to defend that if necessary somewhere else. But I was a victim of the same scam. It's important in the future that, again, public be made aware of what's happening here so that you can hear from people who've been directly interacting with the Marin County Sheriff's Office. Many, many people have many stories, and I think you should go to Marin City and make a presentation in Marin City so the people who are there who wish to comment to this distinguished commission can get to the meeting with minimal effort and speak their piece. And Felicia and I have been friends for many years, and I know she's done extraordinary work with young people. One of the things that this commission should do is reach out to students. Students are the future of this county and, of course, the nation and this world. And they are not invited to participate in meaningful ways in these kinds of activities when they have many ideas on ways they want to shape this culture, this community, this world that serves all people, where the prime focus is the common good. And I think that the commission would do well to study other commissions that have happened not just in the United States but elsewhere, where police activities are handled very differently, and there are very different sets of values related to policing. It's important to move beyond Marin County to the world at large. And I think the United Nations...
Excuse me.
2 minutes?
Yeah, I do 2 minutes. And I would ask that this is about the minutes being approved and that we keep your comments regarding the minutes. I will cut you off if you don't. Thank you.
Thank you. I think there's a tiny item missing from the minutes because both in the first and the second meeting, making the meeting a hybrid meeting, was very important, and making it on Zoom was very important, and I believe recording it. I believe there's a recording of this meeting, I hope. I'm not sure. It is. So just want to do a shout out to staff for making that happen. But I think it should be reflected in the minutes somewhere that the last meeting became a hybrid meeting as opposed to the in-person meeting. Thank you.
Noted. Thank you. Any other comments on the meeting minutes from October 20th? No, any on Zoom? Then we'll move forward. Thank you. Again, public comment is now closed, and we'll move on to the commission to discussion. Any comments? We'll start down at the end. Okay. No? Felicia? Sarah?
The only comment I have. The only comment I would have is, I think it's very simple. We could just add a bullet, say this meeting was a hybrid meeting with Zoom, simulcast, translated. And is it safe to say that, is it our intention at least that every meeting going forward will be a hybrid meeting as well? I think we could put that in there.
Noted. Thank you.
With that change, I'll move approval of the minutes.
I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 4. This is the exciting part. The committee meeting, subcommittee reports. Our next item is our ad hoc subcommittee reports. The commission will receive reports from the following 4 committees, subcommittees: Inspector General hiring, Community Outreach and Engagement, Training Curriculum, Bylaws and Code of Conduct. I'll invite each subcommittee representative to provide the report in turn. After the subcommittee report, we will ask commission questions. Please save your comment until after public comment time. Thank you to all the subcommittees for the updates and answering commission questions. I'll now open it to public comment.
Romer, I think we want to hear from the subcommittee folks first. So
okay.
We have their names are listed there, like, for example, the inspector.
Oh, I see it. Got it.
Hiring. You could ask those members who will be giving the
So our
report
Inspector
tonight.
General hiring subcommittee is Sarah C. Sandoval and Echeverria. Did I say it right?
Echeverria.
Veria. Yes.
Story of my life.
Okay. How about we start there and get a report from you all?
I'm going to be giving the report for the IG hiring subcommittee. And at our last meeting, we discussed details regarding the interview process, and that included suggestions that we gave for people to be on the interviewing panel. And we also discussed the confidentiality of the process. We reviewed and provided input for the recruitment brochure that went out. And the county opened the application, which is available online, and I believe the deadline is December 7th. The next steps are that once the application period closes, they will be reviewed, and then I believe it's the recruitment firm will narrow the list down based on meeting the qualifications for the position, and then in early January we will be doing the panel interviewing.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the committee from the commissioners? No. All right, we'll move on to the next item.
I believe there are comments under Brown Act on each report.
Hold on.
Or do you want to do them all at the end?
I believe we're going to do them at the end. We're going to do them at the end.
I think the idea is that.
Excuse me. Let me speak with Lynn. Lynn, how do you want to do this?
Yes, so the process for tonight is each subcommittee will give a report. There will be questions that will repeat 4 times, report, questions, and then public open time will be available after that block of 4 reports, 4 questions. And the public will be able to speak on any of the 4 subcommittee reports.
All right, that's what I thought. All right, thank you.
But no dialogue?
Sir, can you Thank you.
Let's move on to the second community outreach and engagement. Odham, Gaston, and Echeverria.
Okay. Well, I'm pleased to report out, we've had two committee meetings on the community outreach. What was most exciting is that we are addressing some of the issues that come up at the public meetings here. In your minutes here, and I don't have a page number, but if you go to the ad hoc community outreach, our last meeting on November 5th, we pretty much discussed what type of outreach would we like to have for this whole commission. We discussed what are our top goals of the community engagement, who do we need to most reach in building strong relationships, and what types of outreach and engagement activities that we plan to work with the different communities. We are still developing some of this outreach strategy. We need to bring it to the full ad hoc committee before we make a recommendation to this entire commission. But we are addressing the comments that when it comes up about how do we deal with complaints, how do we deal with who are we going to address when we have the community outreach? Are we reaching the different constituencies in our different areas? Are we reaching the churches, the community organizations? What type of materials that we plan to send out to all of the different communities that we represent? So we're still in the process of finalizing that, and we do have a meeting coming up on Wednesday. Yeah, and hopefully we will finalize something, a document that we can present to the entire commissioners, and we will bring this back to this public. Some of the highlights that we talked about was having different listening sessions, whether they are one-on-one, whether they are just out in the community as a whole. How do we address awareness? What type of outreach? What are our community partners are going to be? What are our different alternative engagement formats? And what type of presence we want to have in the community? Do we want to, when we do go out to speak in the community, we talked about that it would be more than one commissioner with a possibility of having a facilitator, so we're able to really listen wholeheartedly to what the public has to say. And again, we are addressing how do we deal with the complaints that come in. So we have a draft on that, and again, when we meet at our next meeting, the goal is to have a complete plan that we can present to the entire commissioners.
Thank you, Commissioner. Are there any questions? Let's start on this end here. Tom? Nope. I'm all good. Doug, you good? Commissioner?
Question. Is there going to be like a regular schedule of outreach events? Like, is it going to be something that's ongoing, continuous?
I think that's going to be up to the entire commissioners to decide, because we have to fit it in with our schedules. But the goal is that we do want to go to each of our districts. Each of us should go to the districts that we represent. Yeah.
I just had a question. I know you guys talked about listening sessions in the community, like the 4 big areas, that are just the ones we keep hearing about here. Was that discussed? And for example, one in Marin City, we won't probably be able to be on Zoom because I don't know if that space has it, but is that something you guys consider too?
Yes, we definitely discussed that we want to go to the what we call the targeted areas, especially like Marin City, and how do you deal with West Marin when you're so spread out? So it would be a variety. And also we talked about just having some one-on-one that people feel comfortable, because everybody doesn't feel comfortable talking into a large group. So we were addressing a number of variety of ways that people can make contact with us.
Thank you.
And so, yeah, at our next meeting, we definitely have a proposed PR plan that we can present to all of the commissioners that will represent all of us when we do go out into the community.
Thank you, Commissioner. If there are no more questions, I'm going to move on to the training curriculum, and it's Commissioner Robinette, Commissioner McAvoy, and Commissioner Sandoval on those committee.
I'm going to be giving the update for that as well. So we've met and we started discussing kind of different phases that we're going to be looking into. Kind of like the first phase is, general kind of mandatory framework, and then the more we get as we go on to different phases, it's stuff that kind of involves the Inspector General, and so it makes more sense to save those later. I know one of the things that we really talked about is getting an idea of the training that the actual sheriff's office gets, to see what it is that they're trained on and how they're trained, and then to get training on from a different source to kind of compare the two. And so, yeah, that's where we're at with that.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it's really exciting. I really like it. Yeah.
Start on the other end. Any questions, commissioners? Tom? Okay. All right, we're going to move on to the most exciting subcommittee.
Hey now.
Bylaws and Code of Conduct, and Commissioner Fromer, McElhaney, Chan, and Lee are on this committee, and I'm going to ask Mr. Lee to give an update.
Great. Yeah, we met twice since our last meeting, November 4th and November 14th with staff. And then also on the first meeting, we were joined by Cameron McElhaney, and she's the executive director of NACOL. She shared examples of best practices and sort of a sounding board, and sort of questions on how to draft these things, how to think about some of the issues. We reviewed the ordinance section related to the bylaws and the code of conduct, and a template was prepared by the assistant clerk of the board to look at boards and bylaws that we can work off of. The group agreed that much of the content for that could come directly from the ordinance, and we asked the staff to prepare a draft incorporating that language into the code of conduct, so it's kind of the first pass. And then in our second meeting on the 14th, we reviewed that draft bylaw, and we discussed several key topics, including things like officer roles and eligibility, agenda setting responsibilities, parliamentary authority, conflict of interest language, et cetera. As we kind of go through it, you do run into some questions like, take an example like term limits. I mean, it's something that, we as a subcommittee aren't going to just, we're going to dictate this is what it's going to be. So there's a lot of things I think once we have a draft for the commission to look at that we'll want to have open discussion about to make sure everybody buys into it. But right now we're sort of drafting that, and then we'll get to that point where we can have discussion. The subcommittee is planning to prioritize this draft bylaws for full commission review and consideration before we go to the code of conduct. And we are going to meet again, I think, next week. We have a tentative date to meet again next week. And the goal is to present draft bylaws to the full commission in December. So it kind of sounds like some of the other subcommittees, I think we're going to have a busy December meeting. But that's where we are.
Thank you. Tom, you have any questions, comments?
I was at the meeting, so no questions.
You might want to add something. No, you did.
No, he covered it well.
Okay. I just want to add, I thought it was a really good meeting, and have Cameron there was also good. I believe that, most bylaws are very standard, but there are some nuances that we found, and I know we're going to address some of those, and Lynn and her team are working on some of the questions that we had. So I feel confident we're going to have these bylaws draft by the next meeting. Any other questions, commissioners, on the other end? All right. Thank you all, for this. It's a lot of work, but we have to get it done. And my thing, if you do it on the front end, then we won't have to worry about it on the back end. So thank you for all the subcommittee updates and for answering commission questions. I'll now open public comment on this item. Speakers will have 2 minutes. Thank you. Push it one time light and you should get it.
My understanding of the Brown Act is that when items are on the agenda, so the public actually knows the content of a particular discussion on a particular issue, that the public is allowed to have dialogue with the commissioners. The point of this meeting is to actually involve the community in the challenges that we face with law enforcement, not just the sheriff, by the way, but local agencies. So if the public shows up at these meetings and is given 2 minutes to comment on a very complex set of issues that you're addressing, that really means that the Brown Act is not really serving
This
real
is one agenda
communication.
item, and I think if you have any questions,
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Are you going to go to the American Civil Liberties of Northern California to get advice on how other commissions like this have operated, not just in California, but in the United States? The ACLU of Northern California is the largest affiliate in the United States by a factor of 2. There are many experts in San Francisco, and they have connections with other groups that can advise this commission on what has happened elsewhere, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And the document that I referenced earlier with the Obama administration's, process of looking at law enforcement nationally in terms of what it should look like in the 21st century, that is available to you and is a very powerful document that can guide you in many areas, including officer wellness, dealing with stress, and so on. Being a law enforcement officer is very challenging, and that's an issue that I hope this group will address. And then I also would like to ask whatever staff is present to ask county council to provide an opinion on dialogue with the audience on agenda items for more than 2 minutes. 2 minutes to address 4 different subcommittees is simply not adequate. And if you want involvement, you need to have you need to make it clear to the public that showing up at a meeting, either in person or online, it's got to be meaningful.
Thank you. That's definitely noted, and we're going to look into that for next month. Thank you. Any other public comment?
Madam President, we do have one online comment. The first speaker is Eva.
Okay. Let's let her Eva go.
Please unmute.
Thanks. I'll cede to Mr. Dale since he's actually in the room. That's the proper process. Thank you.
Thank you. So to just throw a tiny thing on the table, I'm a 100% disabled U.S. veteran, and I'm going to get to that in a second. I was expecting tonight to hear a tiny little update nugget on the name change and kind of where the status is. That would have been a great thing to have, so maybe the commission can ask staff about that before the end. Second thing is, at the bottom of your agendas, if it's possible to put the next meeting date or the future meeting dates, you could put like a few of them on there. I think that makes it more user-friendly for the public and for somebody like me to be able to actually have that at my fingertips. I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Well, oh, there you go. Thank you.
I always feel like it blocks my vision. Oh, that scares me. Okay, great. Thank you for your committee, your ad hoc committee reports. And I would like to suggest that you do strategize about going out to the 5 districts, as you were saying. You could actually hold your meeting if you're in a location that has the Zoom capabilities and so forth. When you go, there's various sites throughout the county where that is available, and you can hold your meetings there. And you will get community people coming to the meetings to engage, because they don't have to, drive on the freeway or do whatever. And now it's dark early, right? So I would strongly encourage you to make some plans for doing that. As far as West Marin, there are those difficulties, but you could meet at the San Geronimo Valley Community Center. And I'm not sure if is it the Dance Palace? I'm not sure further out if there's, do you guys know? I'm looking to staff. The Dance Palace, is that still operating?
I think it's still, I think it's happening.
Okay, yes. So those are locations that you can plan in advance if they have the Zoom, setups, and you can meet and so forth. The Commission on Aging did that all of the time in the past. So throughout the county, there are areas where you can meet. For those who maybe need captions and so forth, all you need is, I was saying this to staff, is 2 screens. It's all that you need to have available is 2 screens. So that'll be a good idea to do. I think I'm over. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Hello again. Based on community outreach, and this gentleman did make some great points regarding having questions answered. Obviously, you guys don't work here. You guys have fulfilling your careers. But as far as staff goes, how do we get some answers based on our questions? And one example is me bringing something that's very relevant to this process, RIPA data, before RIPA data. And I brought this up about 4 or 5 times. And as far as I know, and I'm sure Mr. Rabb, who probably won't comment, but he knows this, that per the Brown Act, you can have a little dialogue. You can have some responses back regarding the items on the agenda and community members asking questions. You can have some. There can be some sparse and a few comments, a couple answers. Mr. Rabb knows this. Ms. Walsh knows this. So to my question, just me, there's many questions here. To my question, are you in a process for community outreach purposes, for the purpose of planning, being prepared for RIPA data to show the long history of disparities and racism in this county? Have you obtained the data that's at your fingertips, Mr. Gaston, is my question, and you do have the ability to respond. I don't know if you will or not. You do have the ability to respond if you choose.
Okay, thank you. I've been hearing you, Mr. Morgan, regarding the request about the RIPA data, even most recently since it was established in 2022 from the Sheriff's Department, but also the information from the District Attorney before then. It will be all part of our work plan in the compliance. So I am starting to research the information. I have made contact with Mill Valley Free. I've contacted the District Attorney, but I have to pull all this information together to present to the commissioners, and then we can share that information to the public. Mm-hmm. But I've been in the process of researching, yes.
Any other public comment? Thank you. I will. You've had your public comment, and let's get to the next item, if that's okay. Are we?
Make a request that County Council be requested by this commission to provide a judgment as to whether there is dialogue during agendized items. The County Council.
Can I get you to do your comment, your public comment, please? We want to continue the meeting to go forward. What you've talked about previously was noted. I think this is our 3rd or 4th meeting, and so believe me, we're gathering up a lot of information. We're capturing a lot of information, and so absolutely, we are definitely learning as we go. So I want to thank you. Public comment is now closed. The recommendation before us. Yes.
Oh, yeah,
Is there someone else? Did she say? Oh, she never went. Okay, Eba.
Yeah, this is Ava Crisanti, and I want to point out how kind of typical it is to hear that from Ms. Gaston. I am the person who pulled that 32-year arrest referred to prosecution data. It was not the ACLU of Northern California. It was not MV Free. It was not Stephen Bingham. It was not anyone who ended up on Sheriff Civilian Oversight. It was me. I did it on a zero budget, and I've kept reporting on the sheriff. I've kept reporting on the county in general. And it is typical. It is typical for this commission, made up by the county, to exclude the reporter, the investigator, and the whistleblower who did the labor. It is perfectly typical. My challenge to you, if you are serious about this, is talk to the people who have been reporting, not only on the sheriff, on the sheriff's interactions with the district attorney, and how everything relates to. Very few people reported on the deaths in the jail to the extent I did. It is just so typical of this sham oversight committee. How that data played out in the county is something that MV Free can't tell you about. They didn't even have the curiosity to research it. Further, NACOL is completely out of it. They're the ones who deleted all those recordings from the last working group, and that's who you chose to work with. That says everything about this commission and how it was constituted and where it's headed. What else can you say?
Thank you very much, Eva.
Go.
We're going to move forward. Is there any more public comment in the room or on Zoom? Public comment is now closed. The recommendation before us is to consider approval. So we're on the draft agenda. Public comment is closed. We're moving forward to the next agenda item, consideration of the draft commission work plan. Our next item is, I'm going to invite staff to present the report. And so, you ready, Lynn? All right, let's go. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Fromer. I would like to ask Alex to please put up the presentation. All right, great. So before you tonight is the commission work plan. Next slide, please. So this work plan was discussed at all three of your past meetings, and we've brought it up, we've talked about it, and at the last meeting, the commission asked for staff to kind of take all of the compiled comments and come back with a draft work plan, which is what you have before you. And the recommended action tonight is to consider approval of the draft work plan. Next slide, please. So the purpose of the work plan is to establish a framework for your very first year. It's informed by Ordinance 3824, the community expectations for transparency and accountability, and the Commission's intent to establish a strong operational foundation. It's intended to be a living document so that as Commission gains experience, receives input, you may modify the work plan as needed based on feedback, changing priorities, and new challenges. Next slide, please. So as you know, the Commission's purpose, I'm going to read it because I think it's just a good place to get grounded on why we're here, or why you are here, and I'm the staff liaison. The Commission's purpose is to initiate, build, and maintain a trusting relationship between the members of the public and the Sheriff's Office through transparent, respectful, just, and accountable oversight that is rooted in public safety, justice, and accountability. The Civilian Oversight Commission will work in collaboration with the Sheriff's Office and the Office of the Inspector General to fulfill this purpose. Next slide, please. So the strategic idea behind the work plan is what would you like to get accomplished in your very first year? And so some of the things that we have discussed, or you have discussed at your meetings, is we want to build a strong operational foundation. You'd like to engage community experts in best practices. You'd like to emphasize learning and transparency, fully understand the Commission's role and responsibilities, and also to learn the structure and operation of the Sheriff's Office. Next slide, please. So there's 3 phases to the proposed works plan that's before you. The first is the foundational priorities, and these would focus on establishing your structure, your training, outreach, and it could proceed, these things can proceed prior to the appointment of the Inspector General. And you've already started working on some of these, as you've seen in the staff or in the subcommittee reports today, where the Commission has appointed ad hoc subcommittees and in each of the areas that are in the foundational priorities and started working on them. The second section is oversight and operational priorities, which are likely best suited for collaboration with the Inspector General once they are appointed. But that doesn't preclude the Commission for starting to work on them. There is a great deal of learning, there's research, there's drafting, and conversations to be had in this time as well. And then the third phase is reporting and evaluation priorities. And those are actually just directly out of the ordinance. The ordinance builds those into your mandate, and so we put them into the work plan. Okay, next slide, please. So this next slide just takes us back through those 3 with the more details. I won't go into all of them in detail. I know that you've read the report, but I'll just read the top things that will be in the foundational priorities. The Inspector General's recruitment is 1, bylaws and code of conduct, community outreach and engagement, and training curriculum, all of which we've already started working on. Phase 2, next slide, please, is complaints, compliance, status of investigations, and updates. And I want to mention that a number of times when pertinent issues are coming to the Commission to be addressed, there is an idea here where the compliance section would be the appropriate place to look at those things because the ordinance says to develop and carry out a system and process to actively and continually monitor, report, and issue recommendations regarding Sheriff's Office compliance and improvements for improved service with all applicable policies, procedures, trainings, and practices and governing laws. So I just wanted to highlight that as an important piece of the Phase 2, where a process can be developed to properly take in these concerns from the community, concerns that the Commission might have, and have a process to review them and make recommendations. The third phase is reporting. Oh, next slide, please. Reporting and evaluation priorities. Again, this is Inspector General feedback, where there will be an annual performance review, and commissioners will be asked to provide some insights into that. And then some annual reports where the Commission will share with the community the accomplishments, the learning, the education, the impact that they have had in the community. Next slide. All right, second to last slide. This is around the Commission's organization and structure. And so, as you've seen tonight, the use of ad hoc subcommittees is one of the recommended ways that the Commission will go about its work. And there's some details in the work plan about what that might look like. And then also the roles and responsibilities, which will be primarily outlined by the bylaws once that is adopted by the full Commission. Next slide, please. And the last piece is evaluation, transparency, and accountability, making sure that this process is publicly accessible, that the full Commission meetings are open to the public, meeting materials are made available on the Commission's website, which is regularly updated. Also, we distribute 2 monthly e-newsletters, and we encourage folks to sign up. We do a preview of each meeting, just written out in plain language so anyone can just read and get a simple idea of what's happening, and then a recap as well so that folks know what was decided, what kind of actions the Commission is taking. And like I already addressed, there will be public annual reporting and community engagement efforts. So that concludes my report, Chair, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions for staff, commissioners?
Commissioner Gaston, can you turn on your microphone?
The question I have two. On Phase 2, when we talk about the oversight and operational priorities, So that would be an opportunity to address the compliance and the RIPA reports, right? But we would have to do, I would have to do some more research to bring this to the commission.
So this section is for the commission, the purview of the commission is to establish the process to continually monitor and report and issue recommendations. So that doesn't necessarily mean like doing all that work. It can be. The process has yet to be developed. So that is what the ordinance is saying, is basically the work of the commission is to sit down and figure out what that will look like when people or the commission would like to look into further a sheriff's office policy program or training. What does that process look like?
But at one of our ad hoc committee meetings, you discussed about the compliance within the work plan. Would that address those comments from the public?
That would be a place where that, if there's if you decide to make subcommittees again for the second phase, that subcommittee could be where those types of things go, and they've made a process for handling them, and then they would be handled. But the first step is to decide how they will be handled, and then, yes, once those concerns come in, then they would apply the process.
In regards to our addressing the complaints process, when people are sending in their complaints to the commissioners, how will we address that in this plan?
Right. So
I know we discussed it at our ad hoc meeting.
Right. So we have two approaches right now. The commission has indicated kind of two approaches to the complaints. The first is when we get complaints from the community, right? We get phone calls or emails. And so the first phase is just that response and making sure that response, like you said in your update, that response, acknowledges people and lets them know that there is a process that is going to be flushed out in the future. The second piece is the piece of the compliance is when the Inspector General comes along. In the ordinance, it says very clearly that this shall be done in collaboration with the Inspector General. And it's under the duties and powers for the Commission and under the duties and powers of the Inspector General to create this compliance process together, the complaint process together. And it's actually called the Inspector General Complaint Process in the ordinance. And so that is a process that will be best addressed when the Inspector General is appointed.
So one of the comments that I brought up at our meeting is that we should be able to respond to the people who have already sent in some complaints and not wait till the Inspector General comes.
Absolutely. And we can develop that language. We already have a draft that is being worked on, and that can, as soon as that's ready, we can share it with the full commission and start using the language. Mm-hmm.
And the next question on the transparency and accountability. As part of our community outreach, I would suggest, and I'm not sure if all the commissioners have done this, but to make sure that people in your district are aware of how to sign up to listen into these meetings, to send them the email. So I'm not sure if you all have done that, but anyone in your district, just to make sure that they know how to sign up to listen to these meetings that are taking place.
A way that because I know our district supervisors are sharing that information on their sites as well. I'm hoping so. Can you comment on that? Like, how is this information getting out to our areas?
Yes, so we do have a newsletter that's going out twice a month, and that gives information on the meetings and how to participate either in person or via Zoom, and that the recordings, once the recordings are finalized, I upload them onto the website, and so they're available right along with the archived minutes and and so the outreach that we're doing from the Office of the County Executive is this newsletter blast twice a month. And you're right, Chair Fromer, our district supervisors all have their own newsletters. So if you would like, I could ask for them to put a blurb in their district newsletters. They do them every month. So they might not want to do it every month, but we could highlight, and ask for them to put a blurb in that really communicates about the work of the commission and how people can participate.
I mean, I would say the first year, I would request that we do that because you talk about transparency. I think it's important for people to know that we're here and we're available to them to come out or get on Zoom now. It's just important. It's more transparency. That's it.
But I would also like to make a comment that even in my district, if people are not used to listening to getting on the county website, unless you tell them, then how would they know? You know, so we have to do some extra outreach amongst the people that we know ourselves. If you know people, just say, send them the email, sign up, send it to another friend, because many of the, unless you're really, I don't want to downplay it, but unless you decide you want to get on a county website, you won't get on a county website, period. You know, so we need to be able to do our own outreach to the people that we know to make sure that they are listening in and getting the newsletters.
I think the district supervisor sends them out just to emails that they have in there that are not just on the website. They're just the community. But you're right about that. I mean, you know, it can be posted at the library. It can be posted in flyers, can be posted in different places. So we can take
Just
that
people
initiative to do that.
People that we all know, you know, just like, are you getting this newsletter? Sign up. It's one-on-one. That's what I'm saying amongst all of us as commissioners.
Thank you.
If I might add, Commissioner Gaston, these are all conversations that remind me a lot of what we've been talking about in the community outreach and engagement subcommittee. And these are all excellent ideas. And we have talked about using trusted partners like the local churches and our libraries and people and community centers where people go to find out what's going on, right? So yes, this is all excellent feedback and information. I think the home for these is definitely in number 3 under phase 1, which is our community outreach and engagement plan. So excellent ideas, and I'll be sure to note those ideas in our draft that we're working on. Thank you.
I have a question, just to be that I'm understanding this clearly. So that you are in the community outreach engagement subcommittee, you are developing a formal complaint process. I mean, I know the ordinance says that the inspector general has to be involved, but I just feel like this is such an intricate part of like what we're doing, and like that should most certainly be in the community engagement, because when you're engaging with the community, you're taking information in, and I don't know, I just think I know it's down in phase 2, but I think there should be parts of phase 1 where that's included.
Yes, thank you for that comment. I think maybe I misspoke or it wasn't super clear, so I'll just try again. So the first phase is addressing that concern that the commissioners expressed, that people have reached out and that I haven't really had any template language to give them yet. So I've just been saying, thank you, we've received it, and it's been passed on. And so at one of the last meetings, the commission asked, could we have something more robust than that, where we say, we identify their concerns and we let them know that there's a process that's coming for like a full inspector general complaint process, and that in the meantime, they can go to the sheriff's office for their complaint, because that's the current process. And if not, we were talking about having some resource pages for people who are, in some sort of, if they're having a crisis, domestic violence or some other crisis, like to send them to some resources. So that's like the first phase interim. The second phase is the actual building of the complaint program, which is, like I said, in the ordinance, it says that the commission and the inspector general will work in collaboration to create an independent and accessible procedure for community member complaints. So that piece is part of, once the inspector general is on board, to create that complaint process. Because right now, the only thing that exists is going to the sheriff's office and using their form on their website, right? And so the ordinance gives you and the inspector general the direction to create a process. And so we can start drafting, we can start researching, but it really does need to work in collaboration per the language in the ordinance with the inspector general.
So you're saying like you couldn't even, like on our commission website, you couldn't just be like a file a complaint, like with a disclosure saying, hey, we don't have our inspector general yet. We're, when the inspector general is hired, then these complaints will be addressed formally. But there's nothing that, honestly, if I had a complaint, I would not be going to the sheriff's office to file it.
Yeah, so in the absence of we haven't formed a subcommittee yet to work on complaints. And so in the absence of that has to wait, or we have to have something in the interim, right? And so, yes, we could post information for folks, but we can't put the cart before the horse. There's no process yet other than...
No, we understand what we're saying, what I'm saying, and I think what Sarah's saying, all of us are, we got complaints coming in probably daily, and they're just gathering, and what kind of trust with this community are we going to have if we're not doing nothing about it? So if there is something that we can say on the website, in January when Inspector General is hired. It's not till March? So we got to wait till March. Okay. I don't know if this is the place to keep talking about this, but Commissioner?
I can address that. I have a draft that we discussed at the last meeting, and we plan on presenting this to the subcommittee this week, right? Yeah, and we should have something that we can present to you all before the Inspector General. Okay. Yeah.
So you guys are working on a draft of
Almost
something?
complete.
Okay.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, they go to the Sheriff Department to fill out the form to complain about the Sheriff Department.
That is the
I just want to be clear.
That is the current process, and that process stands until we develop the Inspector General process.
No, we get it. We get
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
We're going to have something soon. Yeah.
All right. The ordinance says we have to wait for the IG to do it in collaboration
Well,
to
they have a-
to do that, but we should be able to address some concerns now as they come up. Is there any way to get concerns
Or at
from the
least
Sheriff
take them in.
Department to us to see what the complaints are?
Can you elaborate
If
on
there
your
are
question?
10 complaints that come in about the Sheriff Department to the sheriff, is there any way they would share that with us?
I would have to look into that. I don't have that
If you
information.
just don't mind doing that, that'd be great.
And then I had one more question. For the compliance part, obviously there's been a lot of talk about the sheriff's office and in the engagement with ICE. Is like, I think that would fall under, I don't know where that would fit in, but is that something we could bump up into the, I think that's a big thing that needs to be
That's something that needs
addressed.
to be agendized, and we can talk about it when we put together
But
our
I'm saying
agenda.
this is the work plan that we're talking about.
Right.
And I think that's something that should be put into the work plan. Like that specifically, it's a big thing.
Under compliance.
No. Yeah, so that's
Kinda-
but I don't think
I
that's
know, we
something
gotta
that
have the
should
structure
wait.
set up first. I know, but
I don't,
yeah. Commissioner, guys, don't get on that.
I know.
Yeah, no,
Under
once we have a
complaints
way to.
Yeah.
Compliance.
Commissioner Ivory, those are great comments and noted on our minutes. And as you and I sit and create the agenda for next month, we're going to create the agenda for next month. Yeah, but it's definitely noted.
Yeah.
I'm just saying in the work plan, if we're going to finalize the recommendation for the work plan, I think that's something that needs to be in phase one. I don't know, maybe it could fit under the training curriculum, for us to have training from the sheriff about what their relationships with ICE is. I don't know, is that, can we fit it in there?
It would be appropriate in the training program to learn about the Truth Act and other statutes that talk about that connection between law enforcement and immigration.
Is that something available to us, the Truth Act? Is there a website you can give us? Because there were a couple of things that were quoted, some maybe some policy briefs as well. Are those things that we would speak with you about later?
Yeah, so the training curriculum program, so we've spent, I'm so sorry. We've spent 2 meetings going through line by line. It's one of the longest sections for all the subcommittees, 2 meetings just to go through the wording and the ordinance. And there's definitely, that's just a recommended list of trainings, and so it's really up to the commission if they wanted to add additional trainings. That would absolutely be the appropriate place to put other areas that you'd like to learn about.
Any other questions, commissioners? You want to take a 5-minute break? You want to keep moving? Keep it moving.
Done, I think.
I think the next item's adjournment, right?
I just thought I would ask. I should have asked last time. Let's open this up for public comment. I'm going to get somebody else to the, I see you. Is there anybody else want to have public comment before we move over? Okay, go ahead, George. Yes, you can. Push it again.
So I would suggest that this commission have a page that has all the fundamental elements of how to contact, who's on it, issues you're concerned about. So it's not buried in the county website, which is not customer friendly. And also have this is a question for all of y'all, is there going to be a phone number and a staff person during business hours for someone to call and say, I'm interested in this, but I have a question about such and such and such so? In other words, is there staff available during business hours, Monday through Friday, for this commission? And that should be in that one-page thing also, because as this process unfolds, you want to have input from people who are in the field, so-called citizens, that have issues with whatever areas you're concerned with. And it should be easy for them to reach someone who's knowledgeable and can say, I don't have the answer, but I'll call you back, or have someone call you back in X minutes, or at least whatever. That'll also include an email place. But not to have that page and to send people to the general county website is a nightmare. And I recommend that this be done urgently, and there should be a ad bought in the Marin IJ letting people know that the public is welcome to start participating in this process now, not in March. And that the meetings be posted in the IJ or other appropriate places so that people know before each meeting, at least a week, we're having a meeting, here's the agenda, come on down, we want to hear from you.
Thank you. Thank you. Dale.
George always percolates great info. Thank you. Mark Dale. And so part of my life was in the advertising marketing arena. And you want to get this at the citizens level as easy and touching as you can. Simple flyers. And I'm not saying necessarily the QR code, because for QR codes, a lot of people don't even really get how that functions. Not everybody is technologically literate, me included. So I would say just having simple flyers posted at, Marin City, Novato. Go for your hotspots. Go where there's the high density, the canal. But although the sheriff does not really service the canal, the sheriff really doesn't service Novato, it's the unincorporated areas that really the sheriff services. So I think that's one of the parameters of what you're dealing with. So I would just recommend have staff put up a flyer or create one that has maybe a phone number that goes to some location, you guys figure it out, and the website, and be able to engage the public that way too. Just make it as user-friendly as you can. Thank you.
Thank you, Dale. Any other public comment on a work plan? Lynn, I want to thank you because we've done a lot of work on this. You've done a lot of work on this, and it's really coming together beautifully. I missed one meeting. We got a whole work plan. So I was like, well done. Thank you so much. And you've noted everything that we've set up here, so we can chat offline as we meet in executive session, to set the agenda. Any other public comment?
There's one speaker online.
Okay, let's move to the comment online.
The first speaker is Eva. Please unmute.
Thanks. It really sounds to me, after hearing these comments and about the work plan, that the most community outreach that you guys have been engaged in is to a nonprofit called NACL that has a very specific record of deleting its own records, which were relevant to the county, and they got paid to do that, which is disturbing. And then the other group that you're working with is, that you're doing community outreach with, is MV Free, which has a specific history of ignoring even the RIBA data that they tout, they're analyzing. They have ignored the uptick in detentions of stops for Asian Americans by Sausalito police, and that, you know, they're aware of that, but this is part of a pattern of their, frankly, it's a discriminatory practice on the part of MB Free, and you see it repeated in the county against Asian Americans. So I am half Asian American, I'm half Asian, I'm half Caucasian. Most of the work I've done in this county has looked at how other groups have been treated, Black community, the Latino community, arrest disparities with them. But it is, I just had to file my first federal civil rights lawsuit against the city of Sausalito for violating my First Amendment rights, which they did quite violently and unlawfully, because I was speaking up for other Asian Americans. So it is concerning when Felicia tells me that she's reaching out to MB Free, because they have their own internal biases. They have their little white savior complex, and it gets in the way of their ability to analyze data. I strongly recommend that you do not turn away Asian Americans who are bringing forward relevant information. We have something to show you, and we have to
Thank you so much, Eva. Appreciate it. Your comment is noted. We appreciate you. Thank you. Any other public comment in the room or on Zoom?
Yes, the next speaker is Carol Thomas. Please
Thank
unmute.
you. Thank you.
Yes, good evening. Hi. I appreciate all the comments that I've heard. I'm particularly concerned about the Marin City community. I am from that community. I service that community. My mom still lives in that community, and I have family members who have complaints about the Marin County Sheriff's Department. My concern is that when these meetings are happening, I just happen to get a message saying, "Are you on? Are you getting on?" So I'm just curious as to how the information regarding these meetings that are so important and imperative that we have community access as well as community representation, that you actually hear the voices and the concerns of the community and not second, third party. It's disturbing to me that not many of us are represented, and I'm sure want to be and need to be. So I'd like to know how that information is being distributed to the Marin City community in particular. And if there's some way that it can be done so that we are a part of what's going on and represented.
Thank you. Thank you. Those are comments that are very important to us. We have formed an outreach committee, and we are dealing with those questions as we speak, and creating our plan of action. So I just wanted to comment on that one. Carol, thank you. And
They have a listening, instead of moving the meeting, which gets cumbersome, having like a satellite viewing Zoom setup in a location in Marin City, so they're able to join together there and join the meeting kind of from afar.
we're going to look at all kinds of strategies. Thank you. Damien?
Short here. Regarding the work plan, this is the item, right, the work plan, but the community outreach and engagement based on the work plan, I can't say it enough about Marin City. The history of Marin City it's only known, just a little bit is known about Marin City and how the disparities and how we were treated, especially young black men. You know, it's It's a goal. The goal is to create a separation with young black men. So I have a suggestion. I text Carol Thomas, a great friend of mine, her entire family, and said, "Are you on? Get on." She didn't know. She wants to be on it. She's been on before. She's eager to get on, but she has no idea about this. I asked this commission at the lead with Ms. Gaston, with the help of this of staff and the county, to put up a banner at the fence of Marin City. At the entryway of Marin City, there's a fence, a couple fences, and put up a banner that displays this, and use the word sheriff. Don't leave out the word sheriff, civilian oversight, however you want to name it, but a banner in front. As you know, many of us who go in and out of Marin City, we look at that fence for information. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy holidays. Any other public comment? All right, looks like we have to go to a vote. I'm sorry.
Can I say
You have a
something?
question?
Yeah,
Mhm.
I just, before we go to a vote, I kind of have an issue with the fact that we can't incorporate a complaint process because of the language in the ordinance, because the language in the ordinance says, with the advice, assistance, and support of the OIG, establish bylaws and a code of conduct. We're doing that without the IG. It also says, in collaboration with the OIG, conduct ongoing community outreach and engagement. We're doing that without the OIG. It also says, the COC shall establish, in collaboration with the OIG and the MCSO, a required training curriculum. We're doing that without the OIG. So why can't we establish a complaint process without the OIG?
So staff's recommendation was to place it down in this phase 2, but if the commission agrees and wants to move it, it can be moved. I'm sorry if it appeared that I was saying that it could not. I was just saying that there's likely 2 phases of this, and the second phase is likely best done with the Inspector General. But just like it says in the phase 2 preamble, it says that you're not precluded from beginning the work in this areas. There's meaningful preparatory work that you could be doing, like research and identifying best practices and developing a draft framework. So if it was a priority of the commission to move the complaints item up into phase 1, that is completely under your...
I mean, I like the idea of drafting something, and when IG does come on board, they can help us review it. We already have, the county staff also can help us review it. There's probably thousands of samples that we can look at in addition, that we're not creating something from scratch.
I'm just thinking like on
Let me finish, Sarah. Let me finish real quick. So I do agree with Commissioner Envoy that we can draft something and present it, and we can look at it, and then when the IG comes on board, that's where the collaboration goes. Maybe we can add something, take something away, but it shouldn't. I don't want to personally wait till March. Yeah, Commissioner.
Well, I'd like to address that we do have a draft, and we are meeting Thursday, and we have something to present to this commissioners on the complaint process.
Right, the communication about the complaint process.
Yeah.
I think, if I'm saying it correctly, I think Vice Chair McAvoy is saying the actual creation of the complaint process, that she would like to have that moved up into the foundational priorities. Is that accurate?
Yeah, and I'm like, my idea is like on the commission website, how hard would it be to like put a file a complaint button on there that links to like a whatever form that people can fill out or add their comment or whatever.
Yes, that could definitely be a deliverable. I would just say that we would need to have a process to decide
I would agree.
what that goes to, right? There needs to be a process to understand.
Well, and that's what I was saying. There could be like
what they get.
a disclosure, like we haven't hired the IG yet, so you're more than welcome to file a complaint we can't necessarily address it yet per the ordinance or whatever the language says, but like at least have that option where people can express their concerns and let them know that how it can play out.
I kind of think that we're rushing this a little bit. I feel like this personally, I feel like we're rushing the process. We don't have a process yet. And why would I collect a whole bunch of comments or complaints when we don't have a process to do anything about it? I do like the idea of going up in section 1, but I think I do think we need to get so many things done before this. I'm just saying, I want other commissioners' comments.
Well, I think your heart's definitely in the right place. I very much understand it, but I'm kind of siding with Chairperson Gina. I just think the problem is if my sense is if you had started collecting complaints now, we have no teeth because we have no OIG. So the problem is you're just going to I think people will feel like they're sending in complaints and we're not doing anything. And that's my fear. But I also understand what you're saying is people need to vent. So I think if you created something, you'd have to be very clear. If, let's say, it's into some portal, I think it would have to be very clear. Look, we're hiring an OIG. We're going to collect these things. We will review everything. It probably won't get addressed until April. That way people don't get frustrated. Because I think that'd be worse. Is that people like, we got this committee, and they don't do anything.
Right. No, and that's what I was saying. Definitely make it very clear, but at least give that outlet.
Give them an outlet. I understand that.
But I'm sorry.
Commissioner, let's start at the end. Yes.
I was going to say, and to me, that particular concern does logically fall under the communications subcommittee because it is a communication about the fact that we're in this interim temporary phase. And that makes sense to me to wait for that committee to formulate their recommendation, and then we can consider their recommendation when it's ready to be considered. I think a separate issue is the actual process, which I think is appropriately put in phase 2 because it's so complicated. It'll be a complicated series of considerations as to is even a web link on our website an appropriate place for someone to file a complaint? Should it only be on the IG's website when that entity is stood up? Should it be on both? Those are more complicated questions that I think we'd be jumping the gun on and doing. But the interim stuff, I totally agree, should be just part of the work plan now based on Ms. Gaston's report. And so I support that.
I'm just wondering if there's some kind of middle ground. I'm not comfortable. I myself, I know that, with the Spanish-speaking community, I have a lot of ties in West Marin. They're really concerned. And so it's a problem to just have them just kind of sit at the sheriff's office and being investigated by the sheriff's office. If we can come to some kind of middle ground or something, because there are things that are happening right now that concern me. And so I kind of feel like our hands are tied because we're not getting those. I'm getting those complaints, but they're not going anywhere. And quite frankly, there's an issue of trust. There's just a straight up issue of trust. So I'm concerned about having them sit there, those complaints sitting there waiting until March, because I feel like that will impact people's trust just as much as not having a really clear process right now. And we've talked about this before, that we're kind of starting out behind the 8 ball here. But I'm just wondering if there's some kind of middle ground that we can somehow come to where the complaints are kind of being held someplace where people really feel like they're going to be addressed.
Thank you, Commissioner. I know that public comment is closed. We're in discussion, I believe. Stephen?
I'm hearing a lot from the commission about the complaints and a frustration with the complaints, and I do want to point out a distinction that I'd like you guys to discuss, if you would like. There's a complaint that comes in about a particular interaction with a sheriff deputy, and there's the process that the ordinance really was focusing on, that we really need the IG's involvement. And then there's the complaints you heard today about ICE policies and things like that. which I can sense a lot of frustration of not doing anything with that right now. But the compliance aspect of that, if you think of it more, it's not so much a complaint that needs to be forwarded for investigation, but it's a complaint about a policy. How can we handle that? And you can certainly highlight the compliance portion and discuss how you want to handle the compliance portion so you can handle some of these issues that are being put before you with more of a priority, and you don't have to wait for the IG.
Under that reasoning, we could take in the complaints and address it as a policy, before and yeah, I think that makes some sense. So, so I look forward to when the commission can see the full.
I feel we're at that middle ground, Solange. So when we meet on Thursday, we have some draft language that we would like to present to the full commission at the next meeting. And I feel that it would address these issues before the IG comes on. And
Will that document be ready for us to review it when we get our information out?
yes.
Okay.
I wanted to do it earlier, but Lynn was like, hold off, because all the ad hoc committee wasn't able to be at the meeting, but I have a draft language there. And then in regards to the other comment that came in on the public, and I had just addressed this to Kelly Thomas, who brought up about how she can be more informed. I just talked about how we can I'll send you the email list, the email, how you can sign up. And do we have the calendar of the rest of the commission meetings on the website? So that way anyone can be informed about the next meetings. And always feel free to contact me. Yeah. That's what I'm here.
Thank you. All right. I think I'm going to say what you're thinking right now, because I don't think we're going to be able to approve this work plan right now because we need to make the change to section 1, whatever that is. Is that what you're going to comment on?
I was going to say, I think we should hold off on this until we get the information from the outreach group subcommittee, the outreach and community engagement subcommittee. That way, if they're already doing what it is that I and other commissioners have suggested that we do, then we don't really need to change it. But I don't think we really know until we get that information.
Are you saying, did you want to add anything to the work plan as it is?
No, I'm saying we should hold off on approving the work plan.
So you want to add something to the work plan that's not in there currently?
I won't know until we get the report.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other commissioners? Tom?
I'd like the commission to get going, to move ahead and not be stuck. And it seems to me that if we're going to hear some communication piece at the next meeting, we can address it then. I suggest we go ahead and approve the work plan. We can always adjust it later.
I agree.
There's no reason we can't. And so why don't we just do that rather than saying, okay, we've got another month where you don't even have a work plan. That's my 2 cents.
It's a living document anyway.
All right, so how about this? How about we take get motions, take a vote and see if we have a majority on or not, and then we'll take it from there. I think the work plan, we can always adjust it later.
Is that true?
Yes,
Work plan.
it's written in the very first page, the third paragraph. The plan is intended as a living document that may evolve as commissioner gains experience, receives input, refines its priorities. So this is, I'd also just, if I may,
Sure.
Chair, just point out that the 3 phases don't have any time constraints really assigned to them. The only thing we're looking at into the future is that hiring of the IG. But just as Vice Chair McAvoy said, there are a number of things that we are already starting to work on and develop and research and flesh out right now that it does say in the ordinance that it needs to be done in collaboration with. And so I think if you would like a staff recommendation, I will just ask before I make it, that you, yes, Chair? Is that okay?
I think you hold off on that.
Okay, I will
If
hold
it has
off.
anything to do with it, I think you have something to do with it.
Okay,
And
thank
let
you.
me go out and let me see what the commissioners are thinking right now. And I want to see if there's any more discussion on this item before I take us to a vote.
As to the work plan, you talked about moving that item up of concern to phase one.
Once we get your document is what we're saying. We can always add things later.
Okay.
But this, how important our infrastructure is, this is our infrastructure. And I think it's important to get this going and not hold it back. We can, now that it's not a document that's done, that we can't change, I think for me, I'm glad that we can add to it. Any other discussion, Vice Chair?
I just think, I mean, we're already doing work without having this voted on, so I guess I don't understand why we couldn't just wait to get more information, but, I mean, because we're already doing the work. It's not like not voting on this evening is going to prevent us from doing anything.
No, your opinion is noted, and I think each commissioner has an opinion, and I think we need to take a vote on it. The recommended action is to approve the draft work plan. Do I have a motion to approve the draft work plan?
I'm motion to approve.
Thank you, Felicia. I have a second over here, Tom,
second.
Commissioner. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, pause. The motion carries. We got a work plan. That can be changed. Thank you guys tonight. Item number 6 is adjournment. That concludes our agenda for today. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
No. Do I request to agenda as a name thing, or do we?
We should talk about that. We do have a request for an agenda item for next month, and I know we talked about the name change or the AKA. Can we make sure that's agendized for next month? We want to make a decision before the new year starts, what that's going to be.
Absolutely. Chair,
Yeah.
Vice Chair, we'll have an agenda setting meeting soon, and we can discuss this and any other item that has been suggested for the agenda for the December
Okay,
meeting.
noted. Sound good? All right. All those in favor of adjourning the meeting? Aye.
Aye.
Need a second?
Second.
Oh, I already said that. Meeting is adjourned. Have a great holiday, you guys. Seriously. You guys know Turkey Day's next week, right?
We're having to act.